Do it.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to attacking the turtle, attacking any system, all right, we want to make sure that we have control of the upper body and the lower body for the most part, okay? It's usually a system that kind of falls into play to where as long as I have control of one quadrant of the body and another quadrant of the body opposite of each other, I have pretty good control, all right? The one system that kind of breaks that rule is the crucifix. Because the crucifix isolates these quadrants so efficiently that even though he can move his lower body, it doesn't really matter, it doesn't really affect me, okay? So this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, 3, 4. Okay, each shoulder, each side of the hips, okay? Or each arm, each leg, depends on how you look at it, okay? Let's see, so you can see it a little bit better. I need to get my knee on the inside right here, okay? It's not super critical. The biggest critical part is actually just obtaining this arm, okay? But if he's being very defensive, I need to get this knee out. Now, no matter how tight he is, even if he picks his elbow up here, I'm still gonna get something in here somehow. Now, I mean, I'm not gonna dig my hands in, which I could do, okay? But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my knee, I'm gonna put it right on his hip, and I'm gonna use his leg as a slide. I'm just gonna put all my weight into my knee. It's just gonna slide down, okay? I'm not gonna try to shove it inside of him. I'm not trying to do what he doesn't want me to do. I'm just gonna simply just slide my knee down. So I would come up and get it inside. You can horse collar and grab the belt for control if you need to. And I'm just gonna slide it down until it just slides on down. It automatically opens up his wrist a little bit. Okay, so for people being extremely defensive, that allows me to move that wrist, okay? Now, that's so you can see how it works. Initially, I would be like this, drive it in, and then hunker in nice and tight. I'm gonna take my hip, my foot, and push my hip into his. I want him to be uncomfortable at all points, okay? My weight is gonna shift back into my hip to push on his, so he's wearing my weight. And at the same time, I'm gonna be driving this, making sure that that arm is exposed, okay? Now there's a lot of different entries as far as pulling out, stomping on the wrist, anything like that, okay? When this wrist is no longer protecting that neck, they'll start to use that arm, all right? So what I mean by that is, I may just come here and try to touch his neck so he starts to get nervous. But if my hands are up here, he's no longer trying to protect his neck. Okay? He's just trying to defend his position. That's all he's worried about. All right? Every once in a while you get away with it, especially in a lower belt, you can do this. But even higher belts will do it. I was just at a submission only tournament doing that, and that black belt would take my foot. And he was like second or third degree black belt. So if he grabs my foot, I just take it and drag it back. I don't do this. That doesn't work. He'll limp arm and pull it right out. When this happens, grabbing or hooking it myself, however I choose to do it, this knee has to, pinch into that shoulder. It has to have zero space. I pinch in and I kick my leg back. And I cross my feet, just like that. But I'm pinching my knees together. Now he can't limp arm out, all right? Because my weight is pinching on him and I'm still leaning back, I can now dig my arm underneath. We used to always say, don't stick your arm on the opposite side because they'll trap and roll you. Well, you can't trap and roll me when my weight's sitting back, okay? So my arm digs deep and grabs his wrist, okay? Now, this is my outside leg trapping the arm. There are a lot of different attacks. But I find, especially when you move into no-gi, that the outside leg that traps the arm tends to lose the position once we move to the crucifix, okay? Now, what I'm gonna focus on today is instead of jumping over like we normally see in the crucifix position, dealing with people who are really strong, really good base. You're in an open class match and you're scared to jump over the giant, okay, because they may pick you up and slam you like Vince, put you in the torture rack, thinks it's wrestling, all right? So what I like to do is I need to pass his arm to my back leg. I want my back leg to be in control, all right? This is something I've been working on a lot because I had a lot of issues actually in the submission only tournament a while back where I kept getting to this position and I kept trying to pass that arm and I kept messing it up. So I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do. I'm gonna simply just take my knee and I'm gonna kick it all the way until it goes past my leg. See how it popped over my calf? And now my back leg has control over his arm. Like that. What I was doing before was trying to do things like this and pass it and hook it, and I would lose it every time. I'd have to hurry up and re-grip it like this, okay? This is a great position, but you can lose the crucifix, especially in no-gi. Once you make the turn, they can start limp arming more and more and more, okay? So, we're in this position. I'm up here, or his hand is here, and you grip down with your heel, and you start pushing. My knee comes in. I kick my leg back, but I'm driving until it passes my calf. And now I got my back leg, the inside, hooked, okay? At this point in time, instead of hopping over like I said, I'm gonna simply just turn and pitch my knees towards him and sit. And it pulls him right over. And now I'm in the crucifix, okay? All right, come to this side. Let's turn a little bit for them. All right, I landed like this. Right away, look at my hand. See, when I made the turn, I grabbed the wrist. But once I got to here, I moved up to the pinky because I'm turning his wrist. If I turn his wrist and his thumb is not in control anymore, his elbow turns off. And once his elbow turns off, everything's stuck on his shoulder. His shoulder's not strong, trust me. He needs his elbow close to his body, and he needs his wrist turned like this. Even I have trouble holding it like this. That's why I gotta keep pushing it down. But it's a constant fight. But if I'm like this, I can keep his elbow flared away from his body. We're right here for every basic attack known to man when it comes to crucifix. So right away I can just shoot under the neck and start going in for chokes. You could weave choke, okay? You could actually let go and start doing cross chokes. I don't like letting go anything if it's necessary. I can come to here, but take this leg, the top leg, come over and feel for his wrist. And once I find his wrist, I'm not gonna move my legs. I'm just gonna simply hip up into him. I'm driving my hips up or towards him, depending on where my body's angled. And that's an arm bar right there. And all he's thinking about is, oh God, don't choke me. But I can do all at the same time. I could also choke him and arm bar him all at the same time. When we made the roll, we landed like this. My bottom leg is in control. I come over, I find his wrist, and I just keep my ankles together. And I just start to hit him. That's it. Okay, so let's get to that one part again, even though that was insanely long. Horse collar, belt, especially in gi, okay? You can't get away. Post up, and I'm gonna take all my weight, and I'm gonna slide down the slide. That automatically pushes his wrist away. He can no longer do this anymore. Now his elbows become away from his body. He's becoming weaker, which means I can move his wrist easier, okay? If I put my foot here and he grabs it, fantastic, okay? If we end up getting to the situation where his hands are like this, I can simply grab his thumb, put my foot inside, and just drive it straight back. Pinch my knee, drive, 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 kick, past my calf. Now my back leg has control. I'm free to now come all the way under and grab his wrist. If I can grab his hand now, I will. Seneca is really good, so I don't like coming all the way over. I feel uncomfortable because what if I let go of my legs a little bit? He may limp arm out. So I'm gonna keep my knees squeezed, lay to my side, and simply just roll him over. And I'm gonna lay onto my hip. I'm not gonna lay flat on my back. Right away, I come in for the choke. And he's defending because he doesn't want to get choked and his arm's going all over the place. But at this time, my foot's coming over, looking for his wrist. And then I'm gonna start hipping up. And now I got the straight arm up. All right? If something happens and he pulls his wrist out, I just simply, no, the lock. I'll simply just keep pulling under, almost like getting a bow or arrow choke, okay? So this is perfect scenario, all right? And it happens a lot, because you can scoot in and come all the way in and grab your own collar at this point and just pull your elbow back, okay? Let's give that a shot, all right? On three. 1, 2.